All right, good.
Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown. The email is edward@bestofinvesting.com. Use that email to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate given away during this show. That certificate is not sponsored by the radio station. It's funny, we used to be on radio. I'm so used to that now. They used to pop that out. The certificate is actually sponsored by Tan Bella Tanning Salon with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. Today's special guest is Gil Zeimer. And to give you a little background here, Zeimer's advertising shop is technically where Gil works, but the title of this episode of the show is Scuba Storyteller. Most humorous diving tales by an addicted aquanaut. Gil is a third-generation San Francisco, an advertising writer and journalist for 50 years. He's been decorated with more than 20 major industry awards. During his career, he estimates that he's created between 8,000 to 10,000 projects, including more than 2,800 blogs. He jumped feet first into a resort course on Grand Cayman in 1981, became PADI certified as a diver in 1985, crafted his first magazine article in 1989 for Adweek, Diary of an Unemployed Ad Man, included in this book, and published his first scuba article in 1994 for Scuba Times. As a scuba storyteller, he's written over 300 stories, articles, blogs, and newsletters about his favorite sport, which have appeared in Scuba Diving Industry Magazine, Dan Delert Diver, Scuba Diver Life, California Diving News, and nearly 20 more. His humorous observations on diving, occasionally in cold water and almost exclusively in warm water, have earned him a growing global following and were the catalyst for collecting 65 of his most popular stories in this book. Gil lives in San Rafael, California with his non-diving wife of 33 years and hopes that this book touches the hearts of everyone in the diving community worldwide. Gil, welcome to The Best of Investing. Okay. Now, for some reason, I can't hear you now. I don't know why. What happened to your... Okay. Well, okay. Yeah, you're on mute right now, but let's get you off mute. You're still on mute for some reason. And I don't know how that happened because you were not on mute before. Hold on. We're gonna pause this bad boy. All right, we've got Gil back. Little technical difficulties there. Okay, so let me first ask you, when did you first get interested in scuba diving?
Well, in 1981, I was always a swimmer and a snorkeler, and I grew up near the Pacific Ocean, but it was too cold to go into the water. In San Francisco, it's like 50 degrees, and that causes shrinkage. So in 1981, I had met some people in Texas and went to visit them. And a woman I worked with in San Francisco in advertising said, "Oh, you should meet my friend Janet. She's beautiful and she's an art director and she's a lot of fun." So she and I had lunch with my friends. We hit it off. We started dating long distance. She was in San Francisco a lot and LA a lot on business, photo shoots, video shoots. And we started dating, and we were seeing each other like every other weekend for a year or so. And then she invited me to go to Grand Cayman in the Cayman Islands with her on vacation. She said, "I'm a scuba diver. I think you would love it since you like snorkeling. Let's go." And so I went there. We fell more deeply in love. I fell in love with scuba diving. Took the resort course, which means you take in the morning, you're in the pool, and they teach you how to use the regulator, how to clear the mask, how to read your gauges. And in the afternoon, you go down to 40 feet in the ocean. So I did that for 2 days, 2 dives each, and I was hooked. And then a few years later, I got certified. But the funny story is that a year later, I moved to Dallas to be closer to her on the week of my birthday. I called her Monday. She said, "Great, I'm busy for a few days. I'll take you out Thursday night for your birthday." So she takes me out to dinner Thursday, and she dumps me. And I thought, what the hell
happened? All the way to Dallas to get dumped.
Yeah, and I moved there partially because it was a great job offer and accelerated my career. And so a few years later in Dallas, I got certified. I moved back to San Francisco in '86. I had doubled my salary in 4 years. So it was a great move. And the silver cloud was the lining of the rain cloud was that I learned how to dive because of her.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
That's guys give
right, right,
credit where credit is due. I appreciate that. So what is
right, right, right.
book, Scuba Storyteller, Most Humorous Diving Tales by an Addicted Aquanaut?
What inspired it? Well, what inspired it was a couple of things, Edward. One, I was in advertising. I'd been an advertising writer for like 50 years before I retired, and during that time, I wrote between 8 and 10,000 projects. I mean, I was extremely prolific, especially after the first 17 years when I worked in big ad agencies in San Francisco and Dallas, and I got laid off a few times. I started freelancing full time in 1995 when my daughter was in diapers. And so over the next 33 years, I was one of the busiest freelance writers in the country, working for ad agencies, working directly for clients like Levi Strauss and Dockers and Visa and MasterCard and Intuit and so on. So I'm always writing advertising, and the secret of strong advertising is great headlines that make you want to read a story or make you want to read an ad. And so I was writing all these great ad headlines, and that trained my brain to write interesting headlines for print ads or for stories, for scuba stories. And so I started writing scuba stories, started getting published. My resume of those, my archive grew, and I kept writing them. And I've written over 300 stories now for scuba magazines, blogs, websites, newsletters. And earlier last year, I took a look back and I thought, maybe it's time to write a book. I never thought I would write the great American novel, but I could write a book of my greatest and funniest and most favorite scuba stories that friends have told me about, that fellow divers have resonated with them, and so that inspired the book.
Very cool. Tell you what, we're going to ask
Yeah,
a quick trivia
yeah,
question. We're going to come right back interviewing
sure.
Zeimer. First
Yeah,
trivia question, and Gil, as a little reminder, don't answer yet if you know, because we wanted to give the audience a chance to answer. First trivia question: in
yeah.
what TV series did actor Tom Hanks co-star with Peter Scolari in the early 1980s? Ah, he remembers the 1980s. All right. And then just for fun, I've got a fun little couple of silly jokes here. All right, ready? What do you call a
Sure.
boomerang
Okay.
that won't come back? A stick. And why should you never throw grandpa,
Bada boom.
like that one? Why should you never throw grandpa's false teeth at a vehicle? You might dent your car. Yeah,
Oh,
that's a good one, but
oh.
shoot. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next question here is how did your advertising background help you write interesting headlines to draw in readers for your stories?
Okay, so as I said, advertising is all about strong headlines. I remember
Uh,
this great headline for an airline once after they'd been on strike, and the strike had been settled, and they created an ad and it said the frill is gone. Instead of the thrill is gone, it said the frill is gone, and that resonated with me. And I've always been drawn to the history of advertising. I read books about David Ogilvy, who was a great British advertising writer. Hal Riney was kind of the king of San Francisco advertising. I worked with him for a while, and when he left his agencies where he was working, he formed his own agency under the banner of David Ogilvy. So headlines have always inspired me, and so because of that, the some of the best headlines in my book, some of my favorite headlines that are shown on the back cover are one is called Warm Memories of Hypothermia, which was diving in Monterey where it was 50 degrees and I got colder. It was 3 dives off a boat in one day. So the first dive I was cold, second dive I was colder, third dive I was
Frozen.
shaking so much I couldn't even focus my camera. I was almost hypothermic. So Warm Memories of Hypothermia was that title.
So now,
Another one was,
were you wearing a dry suit?
oh, no, I was wearing a wetsuit,
Uh,
but all my friends who go monthly in California wear dry
uh,
suits.
I see. I know.
But I know, but I had a thick wetsuit. I had heavy gloves and a hoodie. And now, even in 85-degree water, I'll wear a wetsuit because if you're underwater for an hour, you lose heat from your body, from the top of your head and everything. Anyway, other favorite headlines of stories are My First Time, which wasn't about sex, it was about diving. a story called Low Anxiety, Getting Narked in Belize's Great Blue Hole. Narked is nitrogen narcosis. It happens below 100 feet, where it feels like it's hard to feel, it's hard to realize you're getting narked because it just comes from the water pressure. But what happens is you're not thinking straight. You can't put one and one together because things are happening, but you don't realize it. Like my watch was broken because I went below 150 feet, but every time I looked at it, the second hand was on the second hand and the minute hands were all screwy, and I couldn't believe my watch was broken because I couldn't understand what was happening with it. Anyway, so that was called low anxiety instead of high anxiety.
So let me ask you,
Another
when you
story.
go, I'm just trying to imagine, like, I've gone, I've done what we talked about this at the Super Bowl party. I've done snuba, which I've only gone maybe down like 25, 30 feet. Snorkeling would only been like maybe 10 feet or so. I mean, if you've got either like claustrophobia or some other kind of phobia, I mean, when you start getting down, I can't even imagine what it's to go 100 feet. Now, again, and I told you this at Super Bowl, my brother-in-law did underwater welding, and literally he's gone down 100 feet, which is a whole different animal.
Yeah.
When you get that way, how do you, I guess, is it just because of experience of slowly going down a little more, a little more, a little more?
Right. Yeah.
I'd freak out, man, 800.
Yeah. I've always said that scuba diving is more mental than physical. I mean, yes, it's physical. You have to be in good shape. You have to be able to regulate your buoyancy, which is key. But more importantly, that you have to be able to breathe slowly and rhythmically underwater. If you hyperventilate, you're going to use all your air very quickly, like I did on my first dive ever. So it's a very mental sport, and the more diving you do, the more used to it you get, just like anything. But my wife got claustrophobic trying to learn how to scuba dive when we were in the Caribbean once. When we went there on a honeymoon, I was planning to propose to her underwater that day, and I was going to write it out on a slate. But she got freaked out in the pool, and she got claustrophobic just in the pool before she got in the ocean. So that inspired a story called Waterlogged Proposals.
So how did you propose?
So I ended up walking on the beach with her and
There you
talking to
go. A
her.
little bit more romantic. Okay,
He was really shaken up about the whole thing.
but it makes for a good story. Okay, so let me, we'll go to answer the first trivia question, go to the second one. First trivia question was Tom Hanks, what series did Tom Hanks co-star with Peter Scolari in the early 1980s?
Well, it was about advertising. It was called Mad Men.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't Mad Men. It was Bosom Buddies. I'm sorry. Bosom Buddies.
Okay. I want to make a mention here for the Tahoe Lakeshore Lodge and Spa provides guests with an all lakefront hotel in South Lake Tahoe, where every lodge room and condominium has a view of the lake and the mountains. Enjoy fewer crowds during the fall. Now we're getting into winter, so go get your ski boots on at the Tahoe Lakeshore Lodge in beautiful Lake Tahoe, where it is a perfect time also to go hiking. 800-448-4577 or go to TahoeLakeshoreLodge.com. Make your reservations today. Also, want to make a mention for Mountain Mike's Pizza in San Rafael. Pizza the way it ought to be. Excellent pizza. I always love going there. All right. Second trivia question, then we'll come back to this. What actor plays Ken in the 2023 blockbuster? What actor plays Ken in the 2023 blockbuster movie Barbie? All right, let's move on here. So how did you manage your vacations when your wife's not a diver?
Well, we negotiate our vacations. We negotiate our vacations. When we were first dating, she knew how much I loved it, and it was apparent that she wasn't going to get certified. So we would go on vacations, and I would dive a day or two while we were on vacation. When we got married, I dove 2 days on our honeymoon in Maui. One was right off the shore and one was a boat dive, but we had negotiated that. Other vacations we've taken since then, when our daughter was little, we'd go on vacation to Florida Keys or the Caribbean or Hawaii, and I would dive in the morning, and I'd come back in the afternoon and spend the rest of the day and the evening with them. I even went to Walt Disney World and dove in the world's second largest aquarium at Walt Disney World and arranged that in advance. And Ellen brought Sarah up to the glass, and we had a Kodak moment.
Oh, that's
And
kind of
so,
fun. Would your
and then
wife,
the last few years, I'm sorry?
would your wife at least go snorkeling now?
Yeah, yeah, we go snorkeling together. Like 2 years ago, we went on a cruise with her best friend who was just turning 70. And we like smaller ships, but her friend loves Princess. So my wife Ellen said, "Hey, Beth just called. They're going on a Princess cruise next year for her 70th. She wants us to go with her and two other couples." I said, "Well, she's your best friend. You've known her forever. Okay, sure." And she goes, "And one of these other couples are divers." And so I said, "Hook me up with them." So I talked to them, and the three of us arranged to go diving in Cozumel, in Roatan, and in Costa Maya, Mexico, while
Gotcha.
my wife was doing a spa treatment on the yacht on the cruise ship that day.
That's great.
And
That's a
and
good idea. It's
yeah,
funny
and
because
next month,
Cozumel's good scuba diving, isn't it? Cozumel?
there are 365 dive shops on Cozumel, Edward.
Yeah. I was gonna say because
365 dive shops.
I've done on a number of cruises, and every time we stop by, because I'm not a scuba diver, and so every time we go to
Right.
Cozumel, it's like there's nothing there, you know. But if you're a
Well,
diver,
you can go snorkeling there too. But next month we're going on, and last year I went to Palau with a dive buddy from Southern California, 12 days on my own to dive 17 times in over an 8-day span in Palau, which was incredible. And next
let me
month,
at what point do you have to, uh, how far down or how long do you have to be underwater to where you have to like, in order to not get the bend or just go into a chamber or
yeah,
something like
or,
that?
or
I mean,
decompress. Yeah, on any dive, whether you go 20 feet or you go 150 feet, which is about the lowest I've been, on any dive you take, you have to decompress. It's usually 5 minutes at 15 feet. And most ships, most cruise boats have a rope hanging down or the anchor chain, and they have a marker where 15 feet is. And everyone comes up, and we all either float in the water if there's no current, or we grab the anchor chain and we look at our watches or our dive computers, and we stabilize for 5 minutes at 50. Well, it's really 3 minutes, but I do five. And if you dive nitrox, which is a different kind of air than the regular air tank, that allows your body to absorb less nitrogen, so you have less of a chance of getting the bends.
and the decompressor part, you just water, but just holding onto the
You're
chain.
the water, but you're allowing the nitrogen in your blood vessels and in your lungs to
Yeah,
dissipate. Yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
And next month, one more thing. Next month, we're going on a cruise. It's really a 100-person yacht
Oh,
through Emerald Cruises in the Caribbean. And
yeah.
I'm going with my dive buddy from Palau. She and I are going to be diving while my wife and her husband go snorkeling on 3 of the days.
Oh, that sounds like a really good compromise on all that. Okay, here's
So
our
it's a
second.
good balance.
Okay, so what
Good
actor
balance.
plays Ken in the 2023 blockbuster movie Barbie? Who played Ken? Do you remember?
Ryan Gosling. Yeah.
Yes. Good. All right. We're going to ask our last trivia
I'm good
question.
at trivia.
Hey, you're 2 for 2 so
Yeah.
far. Okay. Before
Yeah.
embarking on her solo career, Beyonce was part of what R&B group? All right. See if you can know that one. All right. Let's see. What are your favorite warm water diving stories?
Well, favorite, Palau was one of them last year because it's known for its giant Pacific ray mantas, or Pacific manta rays rather, and they're like
Where is Palau?
Palau is in the far western Pacific. I had to fly from San Francisco to Taipei, and then I had to
Wow.
fly from Taipei 4 hours due south. So it's south of the Philippines and Japan and north of Indonesia. It's
Wow.
way the hell out there. It's way the
Yeah.
hell out. It took 25 hours to get there.
How
So
about-
it's a long way to go. So in Australia is a great place to go. Grand Cayman, Belize, Little Cayman, where I wrote a story called "Say Hello to My Little Cayman Friends," and And another place that was great was Cozumel, because they're all drift dives because of the strong current. I wrote a story called "Drift Diving Away in Cozumel."
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing is if you get a fair amount of waves, I mean, you got that buoyancy. That's another challenge,
Yeah,
isn't it?
buoyancy is tough, but you also have to be aware of how far you are from ship. If there's a
Yeah.
lot of current, the trick in diving into current is you start when you get off the boat, you swim into the current underwater, and you go against the current. So when you turn around halfway through, you're floating with the current back, and the boat follows the bubbles of the group. So when you come up, the boat is usually there. But if it's
Gotcha.
not, we have these plastic sausages that we blow up, and they go like 5 feet up. We wave them, and the boat comes over and picks us up.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
cool. Have you
yeah.
ever gotten the bends?
I have not gotten the bends. I came close once when I had an equipment malfunction in Belize. I was a new diver. I think I'd only been certified for a couple of years, and I was using rented equipment. And I was down at 130 feet, and I pressed the button. When you go down every 33 feet, you go to a new atmosphere, which has more water pressure. And so that causes the bladder and your buoyancy vest to deflate. I mean, when you start diving, when you jump off the boat, you have a little air in your buoyancy vest, just so you're on the surface. And then the dive master goes like this, and we all go down. We get the air out of our buoyancy vest. So, but as you go down, whatever air you have in there to remain buoyant gets deflated from the air pressure, water pressure. So I pushed my button to put a little air into my buoyancy vest, and the button, I didn't know it was rusted. It froze. And so I'm trying to unhook it, and I'm rising. And as I said, it's a mental sport. So I'm thinking the worst thing I could do is hold my breath because my lungs would explode like a balloon.
Yeah.
I'd die.
Yeah.
And so I hyperventilated as I'm struggling to undo this thing. And the dive master sees me, and I'm going up to the surface, and I'm hyperventilating. He follows me. I get to the surface, and he said, "What happened?" I said, "This button stuck." So he said, he unhooked it. We got the air out. He said, "We have to go back down and decompress." So I went down, and I was fine. It scared the crap out of me.
Oh, you
But
bet.
so these are things that you have to be aware of when you dive. And luckily, it's the only time I've ever had a problem. I'm
Well,
very
again,
safe.
equipment from a foreign
Hundreds
country.
of times,
I
very
think
safe after that.
I'll tell him on
Yeah,
the podcast
yeah,
here that my
yeah.
brother-in-law who he doesn't do it anymore,
Right.
but underwater
Yeah.
welding. He was telling me a story about one of his partners who he was going down with had also a malfunction of the mixture of the air, and he freaked out, and he
Yeah.
did what he wasn't supposed to do, and he literally exploded like a bomb inside of his thing, blood everywhere, and I mean, yeah, he died instantly. Very
Oh my
scary.
God. Your brother-in-law died that way?
No, the guy he was with.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
Yeah, so he survived, but he was telling it was not a fun
Wow.
story. And at those dives, he said, for 600 feet, he says literally for 3 days you have to stay in a chamber.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. There's a
Crazy.
chamber right here in San Rafael now. You know that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, on Fifth, on Mission Street, right by Irwin, right by the freeway.
All right. Now, where can listeners buy your book?
Well, they could buy it two places. One, they could buy it directly from me if they live in the Bay Area. I'm happy to meet with them, autograph a book, and sell it to them for $20. If they want to buy it and have me mail it to them, it'll be 25, including postage. Or they can go to Amazon and find it under Scuba Storyteller.
Very cool. All right,
Yeah.
let's go to our third trivia question. Before embarking on a solo career, Beyonce was part of what R&B group? You know the name of that?
Destiny's Child.
Bingo, 3 for 3. Wow, I'm impressed. I like it. Anything else you want to share before we do our thoughts for the day?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure. Also, you can go to my website, scubastoryteller.com, to read my bio, to read parts of the introduction of the book written by a friend of mine who publishes a magazine, about 40 reviews of the book. and a table of contents that shows images and the titles of some of the stories, some of the 65 stories in there.
All right. Well, Gil Zeimer, the scuba expert, we're going to call you. Here's our thoughts for the day. So the internet connection at my farm is sketchy, so I moved my modem into the barn. Now I have stable Wi-Fi. And let's see here. Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? It has great food, but no atmosphere. All right, tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.
Thank you.